What's going on, guys? I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and yeah, I'm still broadcasting from my kitchen because the studio isn't done just yet. You know, I have stuff at the new place, stuff at the old place, so I'm in the process of getting that fixed for you, but I've been traveling all week, covering BlackBerry World, covering the Infuse launch, and next week, covering Google I/O. But there's one thing that I haven't forgotten about, and that's a battle royale between Verizon's two 4G devices, the Samsung DROID Charge and the HTC Thunderbolt 4G. This one's on its way out. It was delayed indefinitely because of the 4G woes that Verizon had last week. But you know, it's coming soon. $299.99, $249.99 for this one, and it's out now. Which one's the best? Which one should you get? Should you go with the Thunderbolt? Should you go with the Charge? They both sound awesome. Maybe you should buy both. I don't know. We're going to figure it out in the dogfight. But first, special thanks to our friends at Best Buy. They're hooking us up with a couple of cool phones so we can give them to you in the One Paw Bandit game. This one's actually in the game and is coming up, or actually is coming up soon rather, so be sure to check it out. When you go to Best Buy, you walk out working, they'll help you set up your phone and more. Enough of that, let's get into it. Dogfight, Samsung DROID Charge, HTC Thunderbolt. Which one's going to win? We'll figure it out starting right now. Here they are, Verizon's two 4G flagship smartphones. Well, actually I shouldn't say flagship because while they are awesome and they are flagship phones on their overall platform, they're the only two smartphones they have. So here they are, Samsung DROID Charge, not available just yet. It's actually been delayed indefinitely. It was supposed to come out April 28th, but Verizon had some LTE issues on April 27th, and it delayed it. No word just yet on when it's coming out, although Best Buy, Verizon, a lot of the stores have them in stock. They're just waiting to sell them. So I can't imagine it would be too much longer. But anyway, 1 GHz Hummingbird processor, 4.3-inch Super AMOLED Plus display. So the display is an improvement, a little bit easier to read outdoors, and absolutely beautiful, just as you would expect from Samsung and the Super AMOLED quality. I mean, gorgeous display, colors really shine, looks good, and more. 8-megapixel camera on the back with a flash, front-facing camera for those video calls, and physical buttons at the bottom instead of capacitive buttons. So it's running Android 2.2 with Samsung's TouchWiz user interface. So it's a pretty cool phone. It's not dual core, so it's not quite up to maybe the Atrix or the G2X in terms of overall speed. And you'll see that in the Quadrant Standard scores a bit later, but still a good device to have. $299 when it eventually comes to Verizon, unless they drop the price and change it from what was announced initially. Then you have the HTC Thunderbolt, 1 GHz Snapdragon processor, next generation Snapdragon processor, 4.3-inch display as well, though there's no high resolution designation, so it's not as high resolution, excuse me, like the Super AMOLED Plus display over here. You just have a standard 4.3-inch display. Capacitive buttons at the bottom. This was the first 4G LTE device to come out, as you know. 8-megapixel camera on the back, kickstand, front-facing camera as well. So reminds you a lot of the Evo, reminds me of the Inspire 4G, you know, typical HTC slab that they're known well for. So you have your two 4G devices here. Which one's going to win? We're going to figure it out in the dogfight. But let's go over the design just briefly first. You can see this has the traditional Samsung hump here at the bottom. Excuse me. Hump at the bottom. And then you have your micro USB charging port here, volume rocker on the left side, power button over here on the right side, HDMI port over on the right side, and then you have your 3.5mm headphone jack up here at the top. So it is a little bit of a thicker device, you know, but it does feel lighter and thinner than the HTC Thunderbolt. I think I have something in my throat, I'm sorry. But it is a little bit thinner than the Thunderbolt and a little bit lighter as well. Now it's made, you know, completely of plastic. It's one of those Samsung things that you either love or you hate. It's very durable, or feels very durable rather. I haven't dropped this one yet. I think Verizon would be kind of mad at me. Special thanks to Verizon, by the way, for hooking us up with PR units in Samsung as well. So, you know, it's one of those things, it's love-hate. You may not like the plastic, you may love it, but the build quality is completely plastic. You can see it kind of has a little design on the battery door with that 4G LTE. And a colleague of mine said they should have kept it. You know, the names, the code names were DROID Stealth and DROID Charge, and they ended up going with Charge. He thought they should go with Stealth because it does kind of get that stealthy look that resembles the BlackBerry 8700 series from all those years ago. Then you have the HTC Thunderbolt. Nothing on the left side with the exception of the micro USB charging port, kickstand on the back with a speaker behind it, and then volume rocker over here on the right side. No physical camera button on either of these devices, though they both have 8-megapixel cameras. You do have to use on-screen button and kind of press and focus in. You may, again, love-hate. I don't like the fact that there's no camera button. I have shaky hands sometimes when I'm taking pictures, so it's a little bit easier to take it with a physical button, but that's minor. 3.5mm headphone jack on the top, power button, 1400 milliamp battery over here, 1600 milliamp battery over here. So keep in mind, you know, this one has a little bit better display, but they have the same display and they're both running Android 2.2 and they're both, you know, 4G LTE devices. Battery life on both of these isn't going to be the best in the world. That said, the battery life competition, which I kind of save this usually till the end, but I'm going to call it right now. Battery life goes to the Charge by far. It's been a pretty decent contender in the battery life department. You know, with a full day, with moderate use, I'm able to make it through the day without, you know, without having to charge. So it's one of those, you know, you can charge it overnight, not have to worry about it powering down throughout the day unless you're just a heavy user. So it is definitely the winner in the battery department. Display department obviously goes to the Charge as well. That 4.3-inch Super AMOLED, just to show you a comparison between the two, the display is absolutely gorgeous. You know, the colors really pop on this. And I know it's kind of hard to see in the camera and it may not do it justice, but you can just see it's more of a, the white is more white. It's not as washed out as the Thunderbolt. And not to say that the display is terrible on the Thunderbolt, but you can just, probably right, let me get it up close here so you can see. You can see it there. I mean, the green is just greener, it's just more vibrant, and it is a noticeable difference. I don't know how well you can see it on camera, see if I can turn it, but it's a noticeable difference when you're looking at it in person. So if the display is your thing, you know, like I need better battery life, I need the display, then the Charge is your device. Now where the Thunderbolt excels is it does have that kickstand on the back. So, and I'm mixing up the Dogfight a little bit, not covering, or kind of doing things out of order. So, I'm going to live life on the edge today, man. It's 6 de Mayo, not just Cinco de Mayo, but 6 de Mayo. But you can, otherwise known as the day after Cinco de Mayo. But you can see the speaker here. So it is more of a kind of a media-centric, or at least it's geared more to me towards the media buffs as opposed to the Charge. The speaker's fine on both, but it seems like it's more geared towards the media buff. So let's take a look at the browser and load up PhoneDog on both of these. Now what'll be really interesting is when we do the network test, since they're both running the same 4G LTE network. Now I'll warn you, what I have experienced with both of these devices is when you go to you know, use the hotspot, where you can use it as a mobile hotspot. Sorry, I can't type and talk at the same time. Use it as a mobile hotspot, it cuts in and out like crazy. The 4G constantly disconnects, and it's not just a Charge thing. You know, you saw that in my review if you watched the review, but it's a Charge, a Thunderbolt thing. It's a Verizon 4G LTE thing. It just happens across the board. So let's see. Oh, okay, here's our world's first professional grade tablet. And let's go up here and see. We'll just refresh the page. Bam. And then we'll click X there. Bam. Wait for those to load. But, you know, that's the trade-off is, I don't know where I was at, but I'm going to start back at the media stuff. But, oh, I'm sorry, the 4G LTE, that's right. It cuts in and out constantly, and that's the frustration when you use it as a mobile hotspot, and it seems to be their network. It's not a particular device. It's, you know, the Thunderbolt does it, the Charge does it, the hotspot, the Samsung hotspot does it. I have not tested the Novotel, but I've heard some reports that it might. And more. So it's just kind of a frustration, you know, when you want to use this for a hotspot, you want to use it as your internet, and I'm doing something like uploading videos or doing something, I can't use it for more than 5 or 10 minutes before it cuts out. So it's very frustrating. So you can see here the Charge is loaded up. So we'll come over here and we'll do some pinch to zoom. And you can see, I mean, it's very fast. You know, there's some checkerboarding, but even with flash ads on, you can see relatively quick. Again, you know, you see that checkerboarding. And then let's try the Thunderbolt. And you can see, not as fast, but no checkerboarding. So it's trade-off, you know, if you want to see the checkerboarding, and you know, you prefer speed over the actual appearance, go with the Charge. If you prefer the appearance more, and you're not concerned with it taking a little bit longer to pinch to zoom in and out, the Thunderbolt. Now, they look a little different when it comes to, let me go back in here so you can see. Let's go to Windows. Let's go to Windows on this. Not dramatically different, but you can see the different menu structures. You know, they're both running Android 2.2, which is what's particularly interesting on these devices, yet the structure looks different thanks to the fact that this is running TouchWiz, this is running HTC Sense. So you can see the pages, that's what they look like. Just click on them, it brings them right back up. Now that brings me over to the two different operating system overlays that are running on top of Android 2.2. You have HTC, or excuse me, you have Samsung's TouchWiz user interface over here, and then you have HTC Sense over here. Now it's total personal preference as to which one you prefer. Oftentimes when people come to me and they say, I want an iPhone, but I don't want 3G, or prior to, you know, a couple months ago, they'd say, I want an iPhone, but I don't want to switch to AT&T, or, you know, I don't want to pay an early termination fee, what should I get? I would always say one of the TouchWiz devices, because if you look at this, it looks almost identical to the iPhone operating system. It looks, you know, very similar to iOS. So you see, we'll just compare it here. bring up that, and you can see, just look at the bottom in comparison, not to bring a third phone into the dogfight, but I'm going to bring a third phone into the dogfight. So you can see down here, almost identical, and then when you click into applications, they don't scroll up and down like typical Android applications, they scroll left to right. Look familiar? Yep, sure does. But you can see, you know, looks very similar to iOS. So if, you know, somebody was coming from an iPhone, let's say on AT&T they wanted to switch, whatever, it's a great medium for those people that are coming from iPod Touch or people that want that, you know, kind of easier experience with Android. So pretty easy to use out of the box, you know, pretty self-explanatory. Like I said, you have your menu structure that moves from left to right instead of up and down with the boxed icons. And then you get some Samsung pre-installed widgets as well. You can see widgets here, and there aren't very many. And, you know, it's a love-hate thing. You may love, you may hate the Samsung widgets. I don't care for them. I think they're a little bubbly. And, you know, again, that goes with the whole iPhone / TouchWiz, you know, look and feel. So you may like it, but Buddies Now is here. Daily Briefing, and I'll show you these actually instead of just showing you what they look like in the menu. Daily Briefing, if you know it from TouchWiz on you know, Android devices or from their Windows Phone 7 devices, it's the Samsung customized application that gives you news, gives you weather, and finance stuff, the date, you know, alarms, calendar stuff, etc. And you do have these individual widgets you can put on your desktop where you can see the weather, you can see finance, you can see mobile, or more. And actually, I was in New York this morning, so it is still on New York weather. But you have WeatherBug as well. You have Buddies Now. See if I have any more. Okay, I do have Buddy Now. It's kind of a social media, or Buddies Now is your friends, and then you have a social media aggregation tool as well, if you care to use it. And I'll go through these actually. TuneWiki, Program Monitor, Feeds and Updates, which is your social aggregation between Twitter, Facebook, MySpace. You can see, obviously, your friends' updates. You can send tweets directly from that as opposed to downloading Twitter or, you know, downloading Facebook and checking statuses like that. Now you have HTC Sense over here, and they've improved on it with the HTC Thunderbolt because it's running, it's actually the first Verizon device to get HTC Sense 2.0. So, you know, it's running, not only is it running the award-winning Sense that everybody knows, everybody loves, or most people love in the Android community at least. I shouldn't say everybody. But it's doing this, it's offering this customization option as well. So instead of running Android 1.5, which is what the Evo had, if you think back to the Inspire, which was the first phone to launch with it in the US, click down here, you'll notice instead of the typical plus sign, it has the little paintbrush thing here, and you can see personalization. You can personalize the scene, the wallpaper, the skin, although it's kind of frustrating because if you remember back to the Inspire 4G, you don't get access to HTC Hub and HTCSense.com, which are some cool features from HTC that are free that give you even more customization options. But you can see HTC, you have these different little skins you can choose from. We'll apply over here, and you can see it pops back to that typical HTC skin that you remember from past devices. So it gives you some customization outside of what it offered before.